Hi students, welcome to this session, and it's a national level scholarship exam. Almost 1 lakh students attempt. So this is just your practice. Also, you give mock tests, few thousand students or few hundred students give it. This is your ability to, this is your chance to test yourself at a much more national level. Why you should take this scholarship exam, we'll get into the questions eventually, but you get 100% scholarship for all Sri Chaitanya courses, which is not just the mains courses, there are advanced courses, there are Olympiad courses. You get 100%, up to 100% scholarship over there. You also get to compete, like I said, with lots of India's brightest student. Every topper that we have had from Sri Chaitanya has at some point given the score exam. There are cash prizes, lots of gadgets, laptops, tablets, anything that helps you prepare better, study better. And obviously there's a lot of recognition that comes with it as well. So now we'll move into the questions part of it, where we discuss the questions that had come previous year. There's already a part 1 of this where we had discussed the first 10. There are 20 questions per subject. So first 10 we had discussed. Today we'll do the remaining 10. So let's get into it. You can also put your answers in the chat as we solve through them. This one says a stone is dropped from a certain height which can reach the ground in 5 seconds. It stopped after 3 seconds of its fall and then it is again released. The total time taken by the stone to reach the ground will be how much? So over here, we know that normally it takes 5 seconds to go down. We know the formula for the height. The formula for the height is given by h is equal to 1/2 gt square. So if it takes 5 seconds to fall, I can find h is equal to g value being 10 and time square is 5 square 25. Take it out with a 5. So you know the height is 125 meters. So you are effectively releasing it from 125 meters. Now in the case that that's been asked, after 3 seconds, you stop the fall. Stop the fall means whatever velocity it had built up, you make that 0. And then it's literally like it starts a free fall from that new height. So I'll just redraw the diagram over here. Let's say this is the entire 125 meter. You release it from here. In 3 seconds, let's say it falls this much. In 3 seconds it falls here. This is when 3 seconds have passed. We can find what this height is. We'll call it h1 for now. h1, it's free fall for 3 seconds. h1 would be 1/2, again gt t1 square I'll call it for now. So h1 would be 1/2 to 10 into 3 square, that's a 9, take it out with a 5, 9 times 5, h1 comes out to be 45 meters, right? So it traveled 45 meters. After that you stopped it. So how many meters are still there to go? How many meters are still there to go? That would be your h2. h2 would just be h minus h1, which is 125 minus 45, which would be 80 meters. Now it's literally like you started a free fall from 80 meters because you're starting with a 0 speed again. You stopped it and then you're letting it go. So how much time will that take? Divided by a 10. Take this out, you get a 16, which is 4 seconds. So it takes another 4 seconds to fall from here. Now naturally it would have taken less. It would have taken 2 seconds because it takes 5 seconds. But because you stopped here, whatever speed it had built up, you removed that. And you started a new free fall. That is why it now takes 4 seconds. So what is the total time it takes? 3 seconds to come till here. Another 4 seconds here. So the total time is 7 seconds. The answer is option C. Okay, we'll go for the next one. This one says a boat crosses a river with 200 meters in the shortest time and it is found to experience a drift of 100 meters in reaching the opposite bank. The time taken now is t. If the same boat is to cross the river by the shortest path, the time taken to cross would be what? So first case is he is trying to cross in the shortest time. We know if he is trying to cross in the shortest time, he is dedicating his entire speed perpendicularly to cross the river. He is not going at any angle. That means in a time t, using his own speed, velocity of the, I'll call it VB because it's a boat, not a man. In a time t, VB then travels 200 meters because VB is just directed in crossing it. So I know VB then would be 200 divided by t. And during that time, the river is pushing him. The river is pushing him forward. Now, how long will the river get to push him? Exactly how long it takes for him to cross. Because after that, he has reached the bank. The river can't push anymore. So in that time t, the river is able to push him by 100 meters. So that way, I can even get the velocity of the river 100 meters in a time t. This we got from case 1. Now in case 2, it is given that he is trying to cross by the shortest path. If he is trying to cross by the shortest path, this is case 2. Then I know the man swims like this at a specific angle to the vertical. Let's say this angle is theta. He swims in such a way, this is Vm, this is Vr. He swims in such a way that his component in this direction, which will be Vm sine theta, that will be equal to Vr because he'll completely cancel out the effect of the river with its horizontal component. So if I go by that, is equal to Vr, I can put Vm is 200, again I'm putting M, let's keep things correct, as VB because it's a boat, BVB, VB. So VB was equal to 200 by T. Sine theta, and VR was equal to 100 by T. Take the T's out, take this out, there's a 2 here. So sine theta comes out to be half, or theta is equal to 30 degree. We got that down. So I know at what angle he swims. Now they're asking what is the time taken to cross. The time taken to cross, remember now the speed that helps him cross is just the VB cos of theta. Theta we already got, right? And how far does he have to cross? 200 meters. So the time taken to cross now would be equal to 200 with the speed of VB cos of 30 degree. Cos 30 is what? Cos 30 is just, cos 30 is root 3 by 2, right? So I can write it, I should not write it, I'll call it T naught, okay? 200 by VB into root 3 over 2. Now see, 200 by VB happens to be the original T. So I can write T naught is equal to the 2 original T divided by root 3. So 2T by root 3, it is option D. Okay. We go for the next question. If any of you have a doubt, please let me know. The live chat is open for you. This one says there's a physical quantity Q made up of the observables x, y, z and t by the relation Q is equal to x to the power 2 by 5 z cube by y root t. Percentage error in all of x, y, z and t are 2.5, 2.5 and 1%. What is the total percentage error in Q? This is a direct formula based question because we know percentage error in Q would be the percentage error of each one, the summation of the percentage error of each one multiplied with whatever is the power as a coefficient of those percentages. Meaning percentage error of Q would be equal to x had a power of 2 by 5. So coefficient would be 2 by 5 multiplied with percentage error of x plus z had a power 3. So 3 times percentage error of z plus y had a power 1. So it's just 1 times percentage error of y, right? It's in the denominator, doesn't really matter. T has a power of half. Root t means power half. So there would be half percentage error of t. Let's plug them on in. I have 2 by 5 into 2.5 plus over here I have 3 times of 2. No, that's not y. Z is 0.5. My mistake. Z is 0.5. Y is 2. So it's just 2%. Plus we have half times t is 1. So what do I get? 2 into 2.5 is 5, that cancels out completely. So over here I have 1 plus this would be 1.5 plus there's a 2 and the last one is another 0.5. So that's 1 plus 1.5, 2.5 plus 2, 4.5 plus 0.5. The answer is 5%. Simple, straightforward, formula based. But remember, this is also, you have to answer these quicker because 20 questions in 2 hours. Normally you have 25 questions over there, but over here you have 20 questions only. Okay, good evening Rohit. Welcome, welcome. We'll go for this one next. This says the body is traveling with a uniform acceleration. Final velocity v is root 180 minus 8x. X is the distance covered by the body. What is the acceleration of the body over here? Right? How do we go to it? We have velocity given as a function of x, not as a function of time. So the formula for acceleration that we use is not dv dt. We use v dv dx. We use v dv dx, right? So first and foremost, what is dv dx? Let's do that separately. ddx of root over of 180 minus 8x, right? What would we get? We would get 1 by 2 root over of 180 minus 8x, and up top I will get a minus 8. This is what we'll get as v dv dx, right? I take that and I plug it in here. So what would I get as the acceleration? V is root over of 180 minus 8x multiplied with dv dx is a minus 8 divided by 2 root over of 180 minus 8x. You see, this cancels out with this, 2 cancels out with the 4. You have the acceleration as minus 4. So it falls under option B. Okay. Let's go for our next question. This says for a point on the periphery of a disk rotating about its axis, acceleration vector is making an angle of 30 degree with the velocity vector. Then the ratio of centripetal to tangential acceleration is what? This is simple question if you just know the concept. We know whenever we have a circular motion about the axis, if a particle is moving, it has 2 components to the acceleration. There is the tangential component to the acceleration and there is the centripetal component to the acceleration, right? And the resultant acceleration we get by the resultant of these 2. Remember, they are always 90 degree to each other. Now velocity, they are talking about the velocity. The velocity itself is pointing in this direction. It's itself pointing along the tangent. Now they have said that the acceleration vector makes an angle of 30 degree with the velocity vector. So you know, I'll use a different color here so that it's a bit clearer. This angle is 30 degree, right? They have asked me for the ratio of centripetal to tangential acceleration. So I'm looking for AC by AT. If you look from the diagram, AC by AT is just tan of 30 degree. So I can just put it in here. Tan 30 is how much? Tan 30 is just 1 over root 3. So our correct answer here is option C. Okay. Next question we move into. It says the length of a rod is 22.4 meters, out of which 2.543 meters is cut out. The remaining length of the pencil is basically the rod. According to the idea of significant figures is what? First, let's try to find the value. Out of this, this is cut out, so I have to subtract this out. So what do? I do 22.4 minus 2.543. You know, just for the sake of it, you can treat it to be zeros over here. So you get a 7, this comes as a 5, 5 comes here as a 6, 6 to this would be 8, comes here as a 3, 3 to this would be 9, and you'll get a 1 here. 19.857. We get this. But remember, we are subtracting. When we are adding or subtracting, I have to reduce the final answer in terms of the number of decimal points as the one with the least number. So this has 3 decimal points, this has 1 decimal point, which means my answer has to be 1 decimal point. So I go rounding off. First, if I round off the 7, I will get 19.86. Then if I round off the 6, I will get 19.9. So our correct answer is 19.9. We won't round it off another layer. Okay? Because here the decimal point matters. If it was a multiplication or division, I would have tried to count the number of significant figures. But in addition, subtraction, we count the decimal points. The number with the least decimal points, the final answer should also have that many decimal points only. Next, over here it says there are 2 particles A and B situated on a rigid body at a distance of 2 meters apart. Particle A has a velocity 10 meters per second at an angle of 60 degree. Particle B has a velocity V, we don't know V, at an angle of 30 degree. Distance between A and B is constant, then the angular velocity of A with respect to B is how much? First thing, we do not know what V is, but we can find the V. How? We see that the distance between them, the D, is constant. That tells you whatever is the component of U in this direction, which is U cos 60, that has to be the component of V in this direction. Those components have to be equal. That is when there's no relative velocity in that direction, the distance will stay the same. So from there we can find V cos 30 is equal to U cos 60, which means V is equal to, U value is given to us 10. 10 into cos 60 is half, divided by cos 30 is root 3 by 2. Take the 2's out, I get V is equal to 10 over root 3. That's the first part done. Now how do I get to the angular velocity? The angular velocity we get, we take these components, which is the U sin 60, and in this direction we have the V sin 30. And the relative velocities in the perpendicular plane divided by distance between them, that is the formula. Omega is equal to the relative velocity in the perpendicular direction divided by the distance between them, which is essentially U sin 60 minus V sin 30. Sin 30 divided by D. Plug in the values here. U is what? U is 10. 10 sin 60 is 10 root 3 by 2, or rather 5 root 3. Jumping a calculation. Minus V sin 30 is 5 by root 3. Whole divided by the distance between them is 2 meters. So what do I get? I get a root 3 cross multiply, then there will be root 3 times root 3 would be 3. 5 times 3, 15 minus 5 divided by, there's a 2 and the root 3 will come down. That's a 10 by 2 root 3. That goes with a 5. So the answer is 5 by root 3 radians per second. Okay? Let's move to the next one. This one says there's a block of mass m. It is moving with a speed v on a horizontal rough surface. It collides with a horizontally mounted spring of spring constant 2k as spring constant k as shown in the figure. The coefficient of friction between the block and the floor is mu. Then the maximum compression of the spring would be how much? So how do we deal with it? Over here, this is moving with the speed v. Initially, the only energy is the kinetic energy over here. So I'll write it. That is just 1/2 mv square. Now finally, it compresses the spring and stops. So where does this energy go? If it has stopped, means the energy is gone. Where has the energy gone? Obviously, if the spring has compressed by a distance x, there is a 1/2 kx square energy stored inside. But also, that means the spring is almost still here. It had to travel, if the spring compressed by a distance x, It means it had to travel that distance x on that frictional surface where the frictional force is constantly opposing it. We know the work done by the frictional force would be equal to the frictional force into the displacement, which is x. Frictional force is mu mg into x. So I can put it there as well. Right? Remember, we are looking for the x, that's the maximum compression. So if we just readjust this a bit, multiply with 2, shift everything, I will get kx square plus 2 mu mgx. This goes there, minus mv square. That is equal to 0. I multiplied throughout with 2. Right? So now this is a quadratic in x. So I can get towards it. X is equal to minus b, which is minus 2 mu mg, right? Plus minus, the minus one won't really matter, but I'll still do a plus. Root over of b square. B square would be 4 times of mu mg whole square. 2 mu mg whole square. 2 I got out, you will see why. Minus 4ac, this negative will make it a plus. 4 into a is k. And the c is mv square. Whole divided by 2a, a over here is k. The reason I kept the 4 out is because this 2 can be cancelled here and the force can be pulled out as a 2. It goes out. So what am I left with? I'm left with minus mu mg. The negative won't be there. The plus is the only possibility because I can't have x value as negative. So if this is already negative, if this is also negative, I can be 100% sure this would become negative, which is not possible. So I can only take the plus value, plus root over of mu mg whole square plus k mv square whole divided by k. So I believe we have option A as the correct one. Minus mu mg, the k is split up over there, minus mu mg by k and 1 by k of the remaining part over there. So it is option A. This one says a particle moves in a circular path such that its speed varies with distance as v is equal to alpha root s. Alpha is a positive constant. Acceleration of the particle after traversing a distance s. How do I do this? So over here, it's moving in a circular path. Okay, and I'm assuming there's a radius r. So there would be two parts to it. There would be the centripetal acceleration and there would be the tangential acceleration. What is the centripetal acceleration? That is v square divided by r. V is alpha root s, so that would be alpha square s divided by r. That's the centripetal acceleration. The other one is the tangential acceleration, which is basically dv dt. But here we don't have it in terms of d, so the other in terms of t. So the other one we will use is v dv ds. V is as it is alpha root s, and if I differentiate alpha root s with respect to this, I will get alpha 1 by 2 root s. Okay, because root s differentiation gives you 1 by 2 root s. Okay, sorry, this is an s here. This root s cancels out, you get alpha square divided by 2. That is your tangential acceleration. You want the net acceleration, which is these two are perpendicular to each other. So the resultant is just ac square plus at square root over of that, which would be root over of a square and do this. I think I can pull the alpha square out. Both of them have an alpha square. This will give you a square by r square then, and that 1 by 2 will give you a 1 by 4. It is option B. Okay, I think we have one more question. This says a ceiling fan starts rotating from rest with an angular acceleration varying alpha is equal to root theta, angular displacement magnitude. Omega is what? Same thing that we have been doing so far. A is equal to v dv ds. So over here in terms of rotational variables, alpha would be omega d theta. It would just be this. Now alpha is given to you as root theta. Cross multiply the d theta. That is equal to omega d omega. Put an integration. If I integrate root theta, theta to the power half, I will get theta to the power 3 by 2 divided by 3 by 2. Right? And over here I would get omega squared divided by 2. So all I'm looking for is the proportionality. So I can see it right there. These are all constant. Omega square is proportional to 3 by 2. Theta to the power 3 by 2. It is option B we get right away. Alright. So with that we finish the questions. These two including previous week when we did the first 10 and these 10. These were the questions that came last year in the grade 11 paper. Remember I have the syllabus over here. This is by the way who can apply for score. Anyone from grade 3 to grade 11. Obviously depending on your class you will apply. It can be taken both online and offline and registrations are completely free at srichaitanyascore.com. You can go there. Exam dates would be 28th September and 12th October depending on whichever slot you take. This is the syllabus for your physics, chemistry and maths. It would be a 120 minutes test, 20 questions each, so 60 minutes, 60 questions, 120 minutes. In your physics, you have only till system of particles and rotation, the entire mechanics part. Chemistry, basic concepts, structure, atomic structure, classification of elements, chemical bonding and thermodynamics. And in maths, you have sets, relations, functions, trigonometric functions, sequence series, straight lines and limits and derivatives. This is your grade 11 syllabus. These are your test dates. The first test would be on 28th September, second one on 12th October. Registrations end 2 days before for each one, but don't wait till the end because so many people, almost 1-2 lakh students appear for this, so occasionally this gets jammed like it happens with JEE mains also, so there is that possibility. You don't want to miss it out. It's just you go, it's a free registration. The link would be in the description. Go register right now. Right? So with that we wrap up this session, students. We'll be having more sessions to help you with your score preparation going forward. But for now, make sure you like this video. Make sure you stay subscribed to get all the other future. There will be chemistry similar sessions over there, math similar sessions. You'll get all of those details. So make sure you stay subscribed. We'll keep it till here. Make sure to follow Infinity Learn JEE and the Sri Chaitanya channel. Thank you all so much for tuning in for this session. Catch you all again in the next one.